want to talk a little bit about the Prophet Muhammad. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. And the way that I like to explain the importance of the quality of the messenger is by giving an example. So the example I often like to give is I say to the person I'm talking to, and I might point to a particular building or something, and I say, okay, so imagine in that window in that building over there, there is an office. And you have to tell me what is in that office. And you have to describe to me what is in that office. And your ability to describe accurately to me what is inside that office, you know, it's connected to some very important thing. You will die, or your family will die, or something terrible will happen if you don't do it. So it's very, very imperative that you do it. So tell me what's in that office. So, well, people ultimately will say they don't know. They have no idea. They can guess. There's probably, maybe there's a table, there's a chair. Well, I say, well, how do you know? They don't really know. And you see, brothers and sisters, this is the issue of the unseen. This matter is unseen. It's unknown. If we can't see it, how will we really know what is the reality? And this is a question about life after death. How do we know what is going to happen to us when we die? How do we know the reality of the afterlife? Will we be reincarnated? Is there nothing? Or is there a day of judgment? Is there a hellfire? Is there a paradise? What is the reality of the afterlife? This is the ilmul ghaib, the knowledge of the unseen. So the point being is, just as no one really knows what is inside that office, you can take a guess, but you don't really know. Similarly, what is going to happen to us when we die? What does the future hold? We don't really know. However, what I say to them is, but you need to know. It's imperative that you know. It's absolutely important that you know, because if you don't, some terrible thing is going to happen to you. But there is a solution. I have in front of you 5 different people. And these 5 people, one of them knows the truth about what is in that office. So you have person A, person B, person C, person D, A, B, C, D, and person E. That's 5. Okay, so just imagine person A is Mr. Hindu, person B is Mr. Christian, person C is Mr. Atheist, person D is Mr. Buddhist, and person E is Mr. Muslim. And you could have more, obviously, I'm just giving an example. Now, each one of them is claiming they know what's in that office. But Mr. Muslim, he actually has a badge on his jacket. And the name on that badge of the company happens to be the same as the name of the company that is on that building. And furthermore, when you inquire and you ask others about Mr. Muslim, they say, yes, he's very honest, he's very truthful. In fact, we never ever heard him ever tell a lie. He's always spoken the truth. But when you ask about the others, you will find, no, well, you know, sometimes they lie, sometimes they speak the truth. They took this thing, they did this thing, and you can't anyway, in any way, shape or form, connect them with that building. The point I'm getting to you is about the idea of trust. Who do we trust? How do we trust someone as a source of information? If at the end of it, Mr. Muslim was to say, well, I'm actually the janitor of that building and I have the keys to all of those rooms, and in fact, I clean them. And yes, I know exactly what's in that office. That's on the 7th floor, and that's the south-facing office in such and such. And I know it's exactly what's in there. And in fact, it's lots of bookshelves and full of books, and there's a, you know, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. But the point is about him. How can we trust the information that someone gives us about something? That's the point that I'm trying to make. So we have really good reasons why we can trust the Prophet Muhammad. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon him. And one of the very strong reasons that we can trust him and that anyone can trust him was that he was considered to be, even by his enemies, the most truthful, the most trustworthy, the most honest, and the most reliable. Also, when we look to his life, we find amazing situations and incidents that happened that give us a lot of faith and confidence that he was what he really claimed to be. And I just want to mention two of them. And I always love mentioning these stories because I think they have a very high impact. The first is when the leaders of Quraysh came to the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca and they made an offer to him. They said to him, if you want to be our king, we'll make you our king. If you want money and riches, we will give you as much money as you like. If you want women, name those women, we will make sure that you can marry them. And if there's some, devil or some jinn or some spirit that you say this spirit comes and talks to you, and your problem is you're suffering from some ailment, we will spend any amount of money, we will bring any doctor to cure you. Just give up preaching this message. And famously, as the Prophet Muhammad is supposed to have said, if you give me the sun in one hand and the moon in the other, I will never leave calling to this message. Or in the more authentic narration, the Prophet mentions, even if you give me a torch, to light it from the sun, I will not give up calling to this message. So the point being is that, look, he was offered everything from the world. Power, he was offered money, everything, and he turned it all down. The thing to think about is here, what motivates a person? If a person comes along and claims, I'm a prophet of God, if the Prophet Muhammad was looking for power or fortune or fame, or even say he was looking to help his people, he could have done that with money, with being a king, with any of these things, but he turned them all down. It shows that his real concern and what he really cared about was just calling the people to the message that he had been given. And this shows his honesty and his truthfulness and his trustworthiness. Another amazing story is when the child of the Prophet Muhammad, Ibrahim, died. Now, Ibrahim was 16 months old, still a baby, and he died in the arms of the Prophet Muhammad. On the same day that the Prophet Muhammad's son died, there was an eclipse of the sun, and people came out and they said, look, even the sun darkens for the death of the child of the Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet Muhammad called the people. When he heard them saying this, he called them and he said, oh my people, this is the sun and this is the moon, and they do not eclipse for the birth or the death of any man. So when you see this, pray to your Lord. And then he taught the Muslims the prayer of the eclipse. Now, when someone makes a claim, any claim, they claim something. Either the person could be telling the truth, or they could be lying, or they could think that that claim is true. They could really believe it, but they're deluded because either they're mad or they're confused or something. And when we think about these things, could we say, looking at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, could any person reasonably say that he was a liar, that he'd invented it? That's not a reasonable claim to make when we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad. But on the other hand, could we really say that he was deluded? Did he behave like a deluded person? Did he behave like a madman? The only way you might suggest these things if you just don't want to accept the most obvious fact. And the most obvious fact is that the reason why he spoke with such wisdom and knowledge and understanding is because this was knowledge that was from the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And the reason he had such confidence and he was so dedicated to preaching his message is also because he was truly a messenger of God. Most certainly the character and the life of the Prophet Muhammad is a great evidence in favor of his claim that he was truly the last and final messenger from Allah.